powerful story about stealing. And I'm curious what you make of this story. Listen to this story. So this is a powerful Hasidic tale as well. And you have to really think about this story to get the essence of it. So in the town of Leipnik, and I got this story from the book of Rabbi Shlomo Yosef Zevin, Hasidic Tales on the Portion. And he says, in the town of Leipnik, there lived a Jew by the name of Yossele. Yossele and his wife were very poor. And Yossele's wife said to him one day as he's going out to work, she says to him, listen, Yossele, I can't go to the store and buy anything. We have no money. We can't make ends meet. Yossele says, maybe the prophet Eliyahu Navi will send us some money. So Elijah will come and send us some money. Okay, so he starts off on his day, and before too long, he sees that there's a wagon carrying the mail. So the wagon's carrying the mail, and he sees two envelopes drop out of the back of the wagon. He runs over. One of them is an ordinary-looking envelope, like who knows what's in it, nothing special. The other one said, it was a big fat envelope, which he could see was containing, actually the amount was $30,000 of rubles. So he said, wow, $30,000. So he quickly put, Yossele did this, he quickly put the 30,000, the envelope, which had the big wad of cash in it, into his pocket. And he runs over to the mailman and he shows him the other letter. He says, you dropped this letter. The other letter. So he tried to steal the $30,000, and he says, here's the other letter. The mailman said, oh, thank you very, very much. I appreciate your honesty that you brought this to me. The mailman goes on with his day. Meanwhile, the man comes home to his wife, and he says to his wife, our prayers have been answered. Look what happened. And he tells her the story. The wife was a nice, religious woman. She says to him, you're a common thief. You're a robber. You're stealing money. Well, this is not what Elijah is bringing us, stolen money. And she started rebuking her husband, but the husband was not even paying attention. Yossele was so excited about his $30,000. He said, listen, the first of all, the post office is going to have to pay back this person. The money is from the government. We're stealing from a nameless entity. They're not even going to miss it. He said, we're for sure okay. Nobody's going to care. It's like the insurance will pay it. And she said, listen, I don't know your fancy talk. I don't know what you're about. I just know that you turned us into common thieves. But this man, Yossele, he didn't care. He didn't care. So she saw that this was not making any headway with him. So she said to him, you know what? This is a very dangerous idea because before too long, the mailman's going to realize he doesn't have the $30,000. And what's going to happen is he's going to go to the police, and the police are going to say, did you drop anything? And he's going to say, yeah, well, there was a man, and they're going to track you down, and then they're going to come knocking on our door, and they're going to search the house, and they're going to find the $30,000, and you spend the rest of your life in jail. And Yossele says, you know what? You're right. But rather than return the money, Yossele decides to hide the money. So he dug up one of the planks in the floorboard of his house, and then he hid the money under the floor of his house. And sure enough, a few hours later, the policeman comes knocking on the door with the mailman, and the mailman said, yeah, that's the guy. And they said, did you steal the money? And the man said, no. And they could see that this wife in the corner was very upset, but they're like, why is it our business that this wife is upset with her husband? So they said, we don't want to get involved with the wife and the husband, but they clearly said this man, they started looking for the house, throughout the house. And the mailman finally had enough. He's like, this guy was so honest. He returned the letter. Why are you treating him like a common thief? And the policeman said, you know what? You guys are probably in this together. And he says, I'm taking you both to jail. He says, I'm taking you both into jail right now under suspicion of theft. So meanwhile, the Yossele and the postman, they went to jail. When the people heard this, the people were horrified. Innocent Yossele, hardworking Yossele has gone to jail. And And hardworking Yossele has been taken to jail for a crime he didn't commit. They started doing fundraisers to get food for her children, and they started bringing food. Meanwhile, this wife of Yossele was so upset about this whole thing. She says, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? So you know what she said? She said, I'm going to take this money and I'm just going to bring it to the rabbi. The rabbi of the town of Leipnik then was Reb Baruch Frankel Ta'omim. He was the son-in-law of the Tzanzer Rebbe. He was a very, very brilliant man. Bring it to Reb Baruch Frankel Ta'omim, and he'll know what to do. So she starts walking towards the Rebbe's house, towards the rabbi's house. She gets close to his house, and she sees outside his house, she sees through the window, all these men are studying the Gemara with the rabbi. She says, I'm going to walk in front of these holy people with the money, tell them the story. This is going to be outrageous. Everybody's going to know my husband was the thief of Leipnik who stole this money. She goes, I can't do that. So what does she do? She takes a pen. She writes on the outside $30,000. She takes the envelope, throws it through the window, runs away. Everybody was all studying Torah. We're studying the Gemara. They didn't notice the money landed on the floor. The rabbi sees the money, picks up the money, sees something is going on. He's quiet, waits for everybody to leave, looks at the money, and he goes, oh my gosh, there's $30,000 in here. And then he goes, he says, I don't know what to do. He says, this requires a lot of thought. So he locks up the door, he locks up the money in the drawer, and he goes out for a walk. Goes out for a walk to think about this. While he's out for the walk, he says, oh my gosh, this is a horrible thing. Probably somebody threw the money in order to frame me for the crime of stealing the 30,000 rubles. And by this time, the authorities have posted a 500 golden ruble award for whoever found the thief. They probably framing me. They're going to break into my house, steal them, and say that I stole it. And the whole Jewish community is going to be desecrated because we stole the money. So he says, quickly runs home, takes the money, hides it under his floorboard, and then he goes, try to think about this. He doesn't know what to do. He can't just bring it in, because if he just brought it in to the police, people assume that he stole it. Nobody's going to believe him, and everybody think that the Jews stole the money, and now they're getting cold feet and they're returning it. So he's walking for a while, and while he's out there walking, who does he run into? He runs into the bishop of Leipnik. Bishop was somebody who they talked to from time to time. And he says to the bishop, Bishop, I have a question for you. He says, do you take confessions from people who are not of your faith? Bishop says, yes, I do. And he says, and if you take a confession, is it absolutely confidential? Are you allowed to go and share any information? He goes, no, if I take a confession, I am not allowed to share any information about it. So then he says to the bishop, do you ever take confessions in your own home? He goes, yes. I have a special chair for it. He goes, I want to come to you and do a confession. But if I come to you and do a confession, I don't want to sit in any church chairs. I just want to sit at the table with you. And it'll be in strict confidence. The bishop was very shocked. This very holy rabbi, he knew he was a very special man. He's going to come to his house and do a confession. But of course, the bishop couldn't resist the idea that the rabbi would come to him for a confession. So he said, okay, the rabbi is going to come to me for a confession. So the rabbi goes home, takes the envelope for $30,000 rubles, goes to the bishop, sits at his table, gives him the 30,000 rubles, shares the whole story with him. The bishop hears this story. And he says, okay, I'm going to bring it to the authorities, and I'm going to tell them that somebody confessed to me and returned this money, and I can't share any information about it, but I have the money back. And they thought that was a very good plan. And in fact, that's what happened. The bishop went back, returned the money. Sure enough, they released Yossele and the postman from prison. Meanwhile, Yossele goes home, and he tells his wife he's been released. The wife tells him what happened. Yossele says, okay, we're good. The wife says, no, we're not. You need to go to the rabbi and confess what you've done. You need to tell the rabbi the truth. So the Yossele was like, I'm going to be so embarrassed to go to tell the rabbi. She goes, no, you have to do that. So Yossele goes to tell the rabbi. The rabbi sees Yossele walk in. And this time there have been major campaigns for Yossele. He walks into the rabbi's office. The rabbi gets up, recites the blessing of Matir Asurim, blessed are you, God, who's released the prisoners. Yossele says, no, I don't deserve anything. I'm not innocent. I'm not righteous. And he started telling the rabbi what he had done. The rabbi says, you're a good person. You made one mistake. You made a mistake in life, but it doesn't mean you're a bad person. But you did something wrong. And they were talking about repentance. Meanwhile, next thing you know, all of a sudden, the bishop walks in. Bishop sees the rabbi's talking to Yossele. The bishop sees that the rabbi's talking to Yossele, and he says, guess what happened? They gave me the reward for 500 golden rubles. They gave me the reward for finding the thief. But I didn't find the thief. You found the thief, he said to the rabbi. So I'm giving you the 500 golden rubles. The rabbi said, I didn't find the thief. I don't want the money. I can't take the money. It's your money. You're the one who did it. He said, no. He said, no, I can't take it. He said to the rabbi, you take it. And if you don't want it, give it to the poor person. The rabbi said, no, that's your prerogative. You give it to whoever you want. So they were sitting there in this argument. And finally, the rabbi said, look, here's Yossele. He hadn't told the bishop that Yossele was the one who stole it. He said, listen, here's Yossele. He's an innocent victim. He was thrown in jail. He took the 500. And he's very poor. Let's give him the money. And so they gave Yossele the 500 rubles, and he told Yossele, open up a store with this, give a lot of charity, give every day of your life, act honestly, and then you'll be blessed. And so at that point, Yossele took the money. At first, he didn't think he was worthy, but the rabbi said, this is what you have to do. And so therefore, the rabbi, once he opened the store, the rabbi sent him many customers, and Yossele opened up his business, gave charity with an open hand, he served the poor, and the next thing you know, he prospered very well until the end of days. And that's the Hasidic story about thou shalt not steal. So it had a happy ending. And to me, the point of the story is, I'd like to hear what you guys think is the point. To me, I know, like it seems like he's prospered for stealing, and that there is that irony to it. But I think at the end of the day, they're saying he's a good person. He had one bad day, and we don't want to make him pay for the rest of his life. In the end, he did the right thing, that he went and confessed to the rabbi, and he deserves a second chance. And so the rabbi gave him a second chance. That's what I take of this sweet story. But if anybody has any comments, I'm happy to hear them now.